In this episode of Cocktail Tax, I'll be explaining how you can save up to $2,000 on your tax return using the lifetime learning credit. So stay tuned. Hello my friends and subscribers of the MK Chip community. I'm MK the CPA, and along with my sidekick Chipper, we teach people information that matters so you can live your life on cage. Today I will be showing charts and slides throughout this video. If at any time you feel I'm going too fast, feel free to pause the video at any point and we can resume from there. Now let's dive right into it. Okay, so how much is the lifetime learning credit worth? The answer is up to $2,000 per return. Now notice I did not say per student like I did in the American Opportunity Credit video. So it's up to $2,000 per tax return. So what this means is even if you have multiple kids or students in college at the same time, the maximum amount of this credit you can take on your tax return is limited to $2,000. And the way that's calculated is the credit is 20% of the first eligible $10,000 in qualified education expenses. So up to $2,000 per return. Now, you may be asking, who can claim the credit? The rules for the lifetime learning credit in terms of who can claim the credit mirror that of the American Opportunity Credit. So the only person who can claim the credit is a person who can claim themselves on their tax return. Many people ask can they claim more than one education credit? The answer is yes, but do understand you can only claim one education credit per student per that tax year. So you might be able to claim, if you have multiple students in college, you may be able to, on one student, you might be able to claim the American Opportunity Credit, and then on another student, you might be able to claim the Lifetime Learning Credit. The important thing to remember is that the IRS does not want you double dipping. So if you used education expenses to claim a credit already, you cannot use those same expenses to claim another credit. If the expenses are different, then sure, go ahead and use them to claim the other credit as well. But do realize you can only do one credit per student per tax year. Is the lifetime learning credit refundable? Unlike the American Opportunity Credit, unfortunately it is not. So what that means is if you don't owe any tax, you're not going to get a benefit from putting it on your return. How long can I claim the credit? You can claim the credit, the lifetime learning credit, throughout your entire life. You can claim it for an unlimited amount of years, which is fantastic. That's one of the great benefits of the lifetime learning credit and where it gets its name. What expenses can you deduct under the lifetime learning credit? You can deduct qualified tuition and education expenses. However, unlike the American Opportunity Credit, you cannot deduct supplies and books unless they are a condition of enrollment. If those supplies and books are part of your enrollment fees, then you can deduct them under the lifetime learning credit. Otherwise, you cannot. So just generally think of tuition, fees, and enrollment fees in terms of what you can deduct for the lifetime learning credit. In terms of when you can deduct them and for what tax year, the expenses will be deductible if you paid those expenses during the academic year at the college or institution you're attending. You can even deduct expenses in the first 3 months of the next year that may count towards the previous tax year. For example, let's say you're going to school in 2016 and the academic period starts in 2017. Well, if you incur, during the first 3 months of 2017, if you incur some expenses, you can actually count those expenses you incurred in 2017 back on your 2016 tax return because it's only the first 3 months of the next year and it's still within the academic period of that particular school. Remember, the academic period is determined by that particular university or institution. Unlike the American Opportunity Credit, you can actually not be pursuing a degree and still claim the lifetime learning credit. Classes and skills you obtain to improve your job would count. And even if you're going towards your master's degree, that would count as well. If you remember that under the American Opportunity Credit, it doesn't count if you're going towards your master's degree. But if you're going towards your master's degree right now, then you may be able to claim this lifetime learning credit for that particular degree. Hope that helps. Now, what is an eligible education institution? Well, those rules are spelled out on the IRS website, and they actually have a list you can click on to figure out if your school actually qualifies. If you're not for certain, make sure you talk with someone at your school or wherever you're taking these classes to make sure the expenses are qualified for you to deduct on your tax return. I'll include a link to the IRS website below. A fun fact of the lifetime learning credit is that even if you've been convicted previously for a felony involving drugs, you can still be eligible for the lifetime learning credit. So you can do drugs and have your credit too. Don't do drugs. Can I file married filing separate and still claim the credit? The answer is no. You either have to file single or married filing joint or another status in order to claim the lifetime learning credit. Do income limitations apply? Well, just like the American Opportunity Credit, they do. If you file single, the income limitation phase out for the lifetime learning credit begins at $55,000 and ends at $65,000. So you start to lose the credit roughly dollar for dollar as your income exceeds $55,000 for 2016 if you file single. If you file married filing joint, the phase out begins at $110,000 in modified adjusted gross income and goes up to $130,000 of modified adjusted gross income. If you file a 1040, you can find the modified adjusted gross income on your tax return on line 38. What form do you need to attach to your 1040 in order to claim the credit? It's tax form 8863. It happens to be the exact same form that you would attach if you were trying to claim the American Opportunity Credit as well. So you might be wondering, what's the best education deduction? You hear things like the American Opportunity Credit, now we're talking about the Lifetime Learning Credit, and you even hear about the tuition and fee deduction. Well, I can tell you hands down that the American Opportunity Credit, if you can take it, is still the best credit. However, the American Opportunity Credit, if you remember, is limited to 4 years only. So the great part about the Lifetime Learning Credit, like I said earlier, is that it's unlimited. You can claim it for an unlimited number of years, which is why it's still a fantastic credit and can still save money, keep more money in your pocket, and keep it out of the hands of the government. If you're faced between an education fee deduction and the Lifetime Learning Credit, you might find that the Lifetime Learning Credit is still more advantageous for you instead of the tuition fee deduction, because it's going to reduce your tax liability dollar for dollar, where the tuition fee deduction does not. So if you're forced to choose between taking the Lifetime Learning Credit or the education fee deduction, I would probably lean towards taking the Lifetime Learning Credit because it may produce a better tax benefit for you. But you still should run the calculation for yourself. If you're unsure of any of these concepts or have questions, please consult with somebody who prepares taxes for a living, like an enrolled agent or a CPA, to make sure you know what you're claiming on your tax return if you have any questions. Well guys, that's pretty much all I have for you today, so I'm going to wrap up the video right here. If you want more information on this credit, or if maybe I didn't cover something that you might have a question on, the publication for education credits is IRS Publication 970. I'm going to include a link down in the description below so you can check it out for yourself. It's a big, nice PDF manual of everything you need to know about the education credits that are available to you to make college more affordable. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing to not miss any future educational videos such as this or tax updates that may be coming. If you like the video, make sure you crush that like button. And if you have questions or comments or feedback of any kind, please leave them in the comment section down below and I will make sure to respond. When it comes to taxes, Chipper and I want you to be dominating! Live life on cage, guys. I love you all. Thank you for all of your support, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great week, everybody.